Alright, so we're back on the trolley project, and today we're going to be modifying the shell a little bit, mainly filling in the holes in the roof. We definitely don't want holes in the trolley, and this technique I'm going to share with you can be applied to various other models as well. So stay tuned. Hey, I'm Jamie, and it's a rainy day here in Beaufort. What better thing to do than stay inside and work on some model railroad stuff. So today's continuation of the trolley project, and we're stripped the paint from it and remove the pickup from the top. We have 5-6 holes in the top of the trolley. So what we're going to do is fill in those holes because it's just not going to look good. Let's just be frank. So this technique can be applied to various other models. I find it works well for me, so let's just jump into it. So what we're going to be doing to fill the holes is actually a combination of baking soda. Yes, I borrowed it from downstairs, no need to bring up the entire box. And super glue. And you may have seen this various techniques online. Baking soda and super glue actually makes a pretty good plastic. I do have plastic putty, but sometimes I find out it works well on smaller fractures, small holes, things like that. These holes are pretty big. The one here in the middle is like 2 millimeters in sides. I just don't think the plastic putty is going to work on it. So we're going to fill it with baking soda and drop some super glue in it and get ready for the magic. So first thing to do is, well, the super glue is not going to stay in there because, well, there are holes. So I'm going to get a piece of painter's tape. And move my workspace up just a tad. And I'm going to cut it so I can put it on the inside of the model to cover up the holes. So we have a thing to hold the actual baking soda inside of the model. And since I'm using a rather large piece of tape, I decided to cut it. That's all I could find this morning. And I'm just going to put the tape inside. There we go. And just make sure it's in there well. So let me set this aside here, bring my workstation back. So we have the tape inside. If I can grab my little thing, it's actually what is it? A sender on a stick. But I'm actually going to use the smooth end to make sure that my tape is in place. I'm not looking for a perfect job here. I'm just looking for enough tape to fill in the holes, and that one up front just a little bit more. There we go. And we put the tape inside so we can put the baking soda into the holes. The tape's going to hold it in place so we can drop the super glue in. So we have that done, and the next thing is getting the baking soda in there. A powder that presents a unique challenge. One of the ways I've found to do it, you can find a small funnel. I'm going to use a, eyedropper. And really all you do is press, squeeze it in, and suck up some baking soda into it. And I'm just going to squeeze it gently, and it's going to go into the holes. And I'm just going to do that for every one of them here. And when I get done with the front ones, I move around to the back so you can actually see it a little bit better. Oop. And sometimes it still makes a mess. So we have it pretty much in our holes. We can dump that back in. seal this back up for next time. And I'm just going to take a hobby knife. I'm using the flat blade basically on it, and I'm just going to use that to kind of smooth it in like a, I guess, what do you call those things? You can move it across the surface to make sure things are smooth. As a grater. I can't think of the name of those things. Scraper, as a scraper. So I'm just using it as a scraper, the flat hobby knife, just to make sure it's even with the top of the model, and using it to scrape off the excess. And we have those done. Next we're going to take super glue. I'm going to try something a little bit different today with the super glue, because once you open one, you never ever get it back right. I've been using super glue. I've been finding cheap at Harbor Freight. I don't have any stock. Again, no attachment to this company whatsoever. Usually I buy it in like little small things like that, and they're fairly cheap. I think I got a pack of 5 of these for like under $2. Let's see if this will actually work. So I want to control again the super glue to make sure I get it in place. So I'm using a 6-gauge needle, and actually it's flat at the end of it, so it's a blunt needle. And I'm just going to see if this works. To glue in the top of it, and maybe, oh, here it comes out. I didn't get that right, a little bit too quick, not as controlled as I would like it. When the glue's ready, you gotta work with it. Alright, so the super glue should, the baking soda should absorb the glue and harden into a plastic. And I'm just going to let it sit and let it do its thing here for a little bit. I'm going to try to get at some excess by just ripping a piece of paper towel. That's where I don't have too much glue on top of it. And I'm just touching it, and it will, paper towel will absorb the glue. You know what? And I forgot to put glue for the hole in the middle. Let's see if there's enough in here left. There we go. Boom. I'm just touching it up to make it kind of, don't want lumps of glue on there, puddles of glue. They're dry into a puddle, of course. That just makes our work a little bit harder. So I'm just going to let this dry. And just to give you an idea, we know it's going to be dry when the glue is no longer has a wet look to it. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And if you get impatient waiting for it to dry, a little bit of distilled water. The water actually reacts to super glue and cures it almost instantaneously. A good little experiment if you want to try it at home. I don't recommend it. You can find on YouTube things on it. You can take super glue into a container of water and squirt it in there, and it instantly solidifies. It's actually kind of neat. So, yep, all of that is dried. We're going to come back to the bottom of it and go ahead and remove our tape. And from there we can see that the holes are filled in for the most part. So we have a good base to work with, and what I'm going to do is come back with a I'll start with an 800 grit sandpaper and just kind of sand off the CA to make it more flush with the model surface. And I'll do it to the other ones as well. I'm going to switch to a 400 for the one here in the middle, just to get it a little bit, to eat into it just a little bit more. It's sticking up more than the others. All right, we have those holes sanded, and just going to do a little bit more. There we go. And the last piece that I'm going to go ahead and work on, since I have the files out, is there's actually a little divot in the middle here that is from where they injected the mold at. I think the other piece that was here covered it up, so it was never a problem, but I don't like it, so we're going to head and sand that smooth with the top. And again, I'm using a 400 right now. Come back with some distilled water. To wipe everything off just to see where we are. Yeah, you can still feel the bumps. If you can feel the bumps, once we put primer on it, you'll definitely see it. So let's work on that just a little bit more. You actually see as I'm sanding that, you know, it's not getting around it, it's getting the where I filled it in and the other surface area around it. So we're not quite there even yet. I'm just going to put some water on my file. I do kind of prefer to do wet sanding versus dry sanding. It does cut down on the dust a lot. And again, I'm just sanding to get rid of the glue that kind of overran the hole. If you don't do this, you definitely see the glue and the imperfections when we go to paint it. We do a primer coat on it. It doesn't. I prefer to get ahead and get it right before we primer it. All right. Yeah, I think that is looking good. The last piece, again, got that. The last piece I want to do it is put a little bit of plastic putty in the hole, and we'll level it off from there. And I'm using Vallejo plastic putty. It's just where I picked up from the local hobby store. And again, I'm using the flat blade on hobby knife. And I'm just going to go over the holes and using the blade to push the putty into the holes. That makes sure we have a clean, smooth surface on top. Alright, that's good. As that dries, I'm just going to come back again with some super glue on the bottom of the model. Since we don't really care, I just want some reinforcement. Let's see if there's any glue left in there. Of course not. Just put a drop or two. Into it, and let's go on the inside. Now the super glue is working as it should. Yeah, now I think I got it stopped up. All right. So I'm going to say using the little needle was kind of a bust. All right. We'll leave that good enough. And the reason I use baking soda and the super glue is, to me, it forms a more permanent bond with the plastic material. The putty is great, but I find it only really works well on smaller holes and cracks and things like that. For these size holes, it would have leaked out or shrunk and cracked, and we'll have our model not looking that great. Let's see. Yep. Our putty is still wet, so I'm just going to let that dry. I'm going to let the putty dry, and then we're going to come back and sand this smooth, and that will complete this part of the process, and it will be ready to move on to our next step, which I'm going to 3D print some parts for it to make it look more modern. So that's going to be the next phase of this project. So I'm going to take a little break, let this set up, and be right back. All right, so I let the model dry for a little bit. Not the model, but the plastic putty dry for about an hour. So I feel confident we can come back and sand it without having it gum up our sandpaper, my sanding sticks. So what I'm going to do is just, again, a quick dry sanding on it. Wet spray the top, the model. I'm just going to start with the number 400. I'm actually going to spray it and use a piece of paper towel to get the excess plastic, the debris out of it, and we have a nice clean sanding surface. And I'm just going to go over it, and it should remove it fairly quickly. And it looks like we really didn't even need to do that. Yeah, there's some that stayed behind. So it seems like our first sanding got it pretty smooth. You can see where some of the white plastic putty stayed behind. That's just some imperfections. I thought there would be more. Usually there is more. I like to finish it up with that. So next I'm going to go with 1000 grit. Just smooth off the top. And I'm just kind of just gently doing this, not too of a heavy hand. And you should be able to run your hand across the top of it, or not your hand, but your finger, and it should be pretty smooth. You shouldn't feel any bumps or anything like that. If you start feeling bumps, work on that area just a little bit more to get it smooth. And I'm going to finish up my sanding with a 1500, 1500 sander, which is a very fine one. To smooth the surface back into itself. And just a little bit, I'm going to go back to 1,000. And back to the 1,500. All right. Yeah, that looks good. I'm just going to hold it up to my light here close just to see if there's any pieces that stand out. Just a little bit. All right. Yeah, I feel good about that. That looks good. There's some minor stuff, but I'm not going to worry about it. And just to finish up, I'm going to take the 800 again and go ahead and do the front part of the roof line that we haven't done, just to rough that up, to get it ready for priming. There we go. And I'm just going to show you do the same for all across the roof there. I'm just doing, again, the 800 grit. Just to rough up the plastic. It's a little bit smoother than what I kind of like it before painting. So since we have the files out, just rough that up a little bit. Go down to the side here and repeat it on the other. That just makes gives it a little bit more surface area for the paint to grip. There we go. All right, I like that. And I'm just going to give it a squirt. distilled water and a wipe down just to get rid of all the excess dust from sanding and the residue. Get this area wiped down too. And there it is. We have it. You see here, I mean, the holes are filled in. They're completely smooth with the top of the trolley, which is what we want. We're going to come back in a later episode and prime it. The primer, it will be a good time to see if there's any other little imperfections in there that we need to touch up before the actual paint job. So I feel good about that. And again, I used a combination of baking soda and CA, super glue. Again, I like to use that better because it actually hardens like a plastic material inside the holes. The holes are just a little bit too big for my liking for the plastic putty. I'm sure that people have 1,000 and different ways how they fill their holes. So I'm kind of curious, what do you find that works best for filling holes in models? If you got a favorite way to doing it, post it in the comments. I would love to hear it. Maybe even try it out on one of my other episodes. I'm all about experimenting and seeing what we can do with these things, what works best. There's a lot of talk online. There's this way, that way. In the previous, when we stripped the paint off of this, again, a lot of people straight out of the box say, oh, use brake fluid. Brake fluid actually is not the best thing for plastic. The alcohol sure didn't work on this one, but we found the LA Totally Awesome Cleaner. Stripped the paint off of this in no time, and you can buy it at the Dollar Tree for $1.56. Not a bad deal for a paint remover. And also I got the leftover in there, which I'm going to run probably a few more models through the same solution before we have to discard it. So I think that's well worth it. It's a lot less hazardous than brake fluid. So I think, in my opinion, it's all about finding things that work, and if they work for you, that's great, but maybe there's other things out there that just work just a little bit better. Who knows? Again, we got this smooth. Now the next part is I am going to print some 3D pieces for the body before we move on to priming it. And we're going to get to the chassis of getting it lubricated and getting that back into a more newer working profile to get it back working, basically clean it up to make sure it's going to last as long as we want it. And I think that concludes today's body filling. Body filling. Should be, maybe that's a song from somewhere. Body filling. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. If you like model trains, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing a lot of this stuff over the next, I've got a big box of stuff we're going to go through. Actually, stuff in a lot worse condition than this one and the previous one that we've worked on. So again, my whole thing is about finding used model trains and refurbish them, rework them to make them more modern. Why not? It saves us some money. It's a good, I don't know, for me, a meditative practice to actually descend it and everything like that. So this has been good. Again, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.